Hello everyone, this is Zeeebo and welcome to this AFK journey video. So I'm a little bit under the weather, so pardon me if I start sneezing halfway throughout the recording. But for this video, we're going to talk about Deep Sea Ravager Harak, who is going to release on a global server in less than 24 hours time. So we will be doing a pull stream for this character on our YouTube channel. So stay tuned for the more playtesting as well as the pooling session. And I'll be doing my future findings of this character as we get it on the global server itself. So for today's video, we're going to talk about some pointers and like my own observations of this character after using him on the test server, and let you guys know the things about this character before committing to him on the first day of his release. Okay, so this is an important PSA before you commit into this character. And starting off with his role, what does he do? Why is he good? Why is he strong? Why is he OP? The reason why this character is incredibly powerful is because this character does a lot of damage. Like his skill over here, I'll say like it's one of the strongest percentage multiplier skill. It's 100% times 9 plus 240%. So this is like a 1000+% skill that you can't stop him from using because he will be unaffected when he's using the skill. And this skill also does extra damage equals to the enemy's lost HP. So this part is extremely good against bossing purposes because most of the bosses has a lot of HP. So the more HP the boss lose, the more damage this skill will do. And on top of that, right, if you take a look at his Supreme Plus skill over here, upon assisting or defeating 2 units, he recovers energy from casting Vicious Bite, which is ultimate. So every time he gets 2 assists or 2 defeats on 2 units on the battlefield, he will be able to cast his ultimate, get some energy back, and then be able to spam his ultimate really quickly within like the next few seconds. So very spammable ultimate over here. Something like a Elsa, mini Elsa. I'll say it's not like Elsa's fast, but it's still really fast. So this makes his skill really spammable. And other than dealing a lot of damage, there's also an incredible utility in this skill. When casting this skill, he remains unaffected and prevents the enemy from recovering HP. So this is actually really good because there are increasingly more units with incredibly annoying HP recovery skill set itself, such as the ability to lifesteal, such as the ability to heal your other allies, or even just heal themselves up with their own kit itself. So being able to stop them from recovering HP is going to be massive as you push through to all these annoying AFK stages with all these units, or even in the future once they release game modes where sustained units are going to be really powerful. So these are the few things to note about the ultimate skill over here. And contrary to popular belief, like as a warrior character, usually you'll think that warrior characters, they are generally really frail. Like they come into battle and they don't last the full duration. Harak over here is one of those rare warriors that's able to survive really well due to a multitude of reasons. Number one, he has his own invincible skill, which allows him to dive around to shake off aggro from himself, so he takes less damage, and become invincible, which means that he don't take damage when he's diving underwater. And he also has the lifesteal ability to recover some HP as he's dealing damage to the enemy itself. And lastly, his Mythic Plus ability over here is able to increase his HP and attack percentage by 2.6 times, with the ability to recover HP when he assists or defeat a unit, with the recovery amount equals to 50% of the defeated unit's max HP. So he has a lot of self-sustain in his kit, and he also has a lot of self-buff from the increased stats, as well as the increase in crit and haste from the flash freeze ability. So this is why this character is a really amazing all-rounder. Damage dealer, assassin with some debuff utility built into his kit. And on top of that, right, despite this skill having this drawback, where if he were to exit the feast mode, he will lose control and devour the weakest non-summon unit on the battlefield, whether be it ally or enemy. So let's say if you don't have a team build that sort of fits into like this idea to fit him with a unit. For example, if you don't have Talon or if you don't have Torrent, right, these are the best units because you can eat them up and they can still revive. So his instant defeat doesn't remove the unit totally, it just kills them. So units with the revive mechanic can still come back to life. So if you use KFC, if you use Talon, you can do the KFC combo where Harak can eat up your Talon, and then Talon can revive, and then Harak can eat Talon once again. So this is some combos that you guys can use. But with regards to this instantly defeating enemy part, you not only can use it to eat your own ally, you can use it to actually instantaneously defeat an enemy. provided you are able to lower their HP percentage to a lower threshold compared to the rest of your team. So I do use him at 1 copy for just this insta defeat ability by just slotting him in a whole team of sustain and healer units to keep his HP percentage pretty high throughout the whole team, such that he goes after the enemy to defeat them with this skill over here. So yeah, he has quite a few roles going for him, and upon release, I think he's gonna be one of the top tier characters in the game, somewhere I'll say like close to the physical Lily May, right? So that's what I will give him in terms of his performance so far. But one thing about this character is that the third skill over here, it's a major power boost to him, but also a major drawback. So I'll use this replay to showcase what I mean by that. So let's just arrange the team a little bit so that you guys can see the problem. Okay, so let's put the unit here. We need all the buffs we can get. So we are going to put our dear Harak. Okay, so we're gonna take out Odie first, and then we're gonna put in Smokey for example. Okay, so let's start the battle, and you guys can see the replay for yourself. Okay, so his biggest strength is survival, damage, as well as self-boosting ability. So his damage output is going to be really incredible. But one thing to note for this character is that his third skill can be a major drawback in many situations, because there is ways to ensure that your team has a higher HP percentage compared to the enemy, but at the same time it is very hard to ensure the HP consistency. So what would happen is this unit will just finish off your whole team, and then you're left with only him to hyper carry, and that might not be sufficient, right? So this can happen both in the AFK stage pushing side, as well as your Dream Realm side, as well as your PvP side. So there are ways to sort of use Talin as the bait for the Dream Realm side, because you are running a fixed number of units, and you can allow Talin to be the lowest HP percentage unit in the Dream Realm setting. But in every other stage itself, it's going to be a little bit challenging if you are a little bit strapped in terms of your unit collection. So yes, he's going to be a Lily May character, but he's going to be like a more expensive Lily May character, because on top of him being really powerful, you need to build teams around him, right? If you take a look at his skill over here, Ravenous Digestion, if he assists or defeat a unit, he gains 60% of their attack or HP, and this skill works on your ally as well. So this means that if you want to eat up your ally for additional stats, the ally that you eat also must have decent levels for him to gain more stats in the process of consuming your own ally. So that's why if your own team or your current collection is not the strongest, you might not be able to fully enjoy the power level of this character, because you don't have a lot of units to play with, and you cannot optimize your unit to make this unit look good, right? So that's why this is, I'll say, like a more expensive version of Lily May, because Lily May, you can just throw her anywhere and she will be really good, and you can throw her in PvP, you can throw her in bossing, you can throw her in your AFK stage push, and you don't have to worry too much of the team building side, because he goes really well in multiple teams. Whereas for Harak's case, I think he's good, but because he has this massive drawback, if you don't control or answer or sort of think of a solution for it, he might just consume your whole team and then game over for you. So this is one thing I noticed about this character. Okay, so next we talk about another important part, which I think a lot of people will be concerned about. How good is he for the Dream Realm bossing side? Okay, so first of all, in the testing yesterday of the Skyclops side, I don't have any replays to share with you guys, but I think our dear Harak delivered on the Skyclops side, because Skyclops is probably the best boss for him, because Skyclops summons some units over here which will amp up and speed up that killing unit part of his kit to do massive damage against Skyclops. And we also found out that you can use Talin as a bait to be eaten by him in the Dream Realm side of things, because he can't consume the boss, so he can only consume the summon, or he can consume his own teammate in this fight over here. Whereas if you pit him against every other boss, you definitely need to eat your own teammate, because the boss is not going to summon anything for you to kill. So that's why this is probably the best performing boss for him. And moving forward, we probably will get Plague Creeper, which also summons some units, which will also aid in his extension of the feast mode, as well as the spamming of his ultimate through the Supreme Plus skill. So in that case, once he has more bosses that has the summoning ability, which gives him more unit to extend the duration of his buff as well as his skill. That's where he will shine even better. But right now, looking at the current roster of the bosses, for the King Croaker side, so far I don't have any replays with regards to how well he can do here. But looking at what I have, I'm going to showcase like one fight so you guys understand what I mean. So looking at what I have right here, I think you probably will want to have at least a Talon or Torrent in the team for him to consume for that feast mode third skill over here, because that is an important part to increase his damage numbers, as well as a part where he's going to consume everyone else if you don't have a Talon in the team. So yes, he can be a really good hyper carry, but if he were to consume all your other allies really quickly at the start of battle, you're going to lose even more damage than he can deal throughout. So that's one thing I would like to point out. So you need to have at least, I would say, like at least a Torrent or at least a Talon in your team, such that you can let them be eaten by him to cancel out the negative part of skill tree. So that's number one, and that would mean that you have some pressure on your team building side. So you need, I'll say, at least a Talon or Torrent built up, because this will affect the stat gain, and then this will also affect his final damage output like I mentioned earlier. So that is the few consideration, at least on the Croaker side. So this thing also applies to other bosses, like for example Necro Dragon. So Necro Dragon right here, I think he might be really good. So far he has only been released for 2 days, so we're able to see his performance in Skyclops, which is amazing. Haven't really seen too much on the King Croaker side, so I assume he's like not the best, maybe usable but not the best here. But if we were to consider other bosses like Necro Dragon, I think he's okay because he's relatively mobile with his second skill, so he will be diving around, so he won't be negated, and he will still be able to do a lot of damage. But you have to think of a way to use both him as well as maybe a Talon in the team, for example, or maybe a Torrent in the team like I mentioned earlier. So Snow Stomper, I personally don't think he'll be that good, because his main damage source comes from an ultimate. Being able to spam his ultimate is where he's gonna do a lot of damage. But right here, if you go into Snow Stomper, Snow Stomper's global silence is gonna prevent him from doing anything, right, for most of the battle, preventing from using his skill. So yeah, maybe he won't devour his own teammate, but he won't be casting his ultimate damage, so he'll lose a lot of damage here. And then Crystal Beetle, this is a magical damage centric boss, so as a physical attacker, he's not going to scale that well unless he proves me wrong. And for Olsen's case, there is a possibility, but taking a look at the current best teams of Olsen right here, I think it's very hard to find a slot for him unless we build a brand new team that does better against him, that is built around him specifically. So probably like a team with Elsa, with healers, with Talon plus him, maybe. That's just my suggestion, but I think it's going to be challenging because Olsen also has the ability to control, so Talon might not be the best damage dealer or like additional unit here. So out of all these 8 bosses, right, I think the bosses that he probably can be good at, Lone Gaze, I think has a good chance. Alpha Bear has a good chance as well. If you build your team well around him, maybe replacing Lily May, there's a good possibility. And Skyclops, definitely the best for him. And then King Croaker, I don't see any records, but I've seen some damage runs, pretty impressive. Probably high tier in terms of the numbers itself. So Dream Realm side so far has been okay, but probably needs a few more days to test for this character. And considering the drawback potential of this character in terms of team building, probably a little bit challenging for him to be like the best of the best, right? He could be in the strongest damage teams, but that is if you're a whale, you have the necessary hero collection to utilize his full power to get the max damage itself. Okay, so that's pretty much it, just some initial impression of this character. I'll be doing more testing moving forward and reporting my findings, so stay tuned, and I'll see you guys again in my next video. Bye guys.